There's no place like home. Whether it be bungalows, houses, or new flats, there's a continual demand upon authorities throughout the country to provide homes for the people. New homes for people who may long have lived in hope. Letting day. And on the spot is the mobile van of the local gas board, bringing the showroom to the people. A great day for the new tenants, many of whom will have for the first time a place of their own and can choose for themselves those modern appliances which go so far towards making a mere house into a home. Unlike the male of the species, this young bride is kitchen conscious, and her first thoughts naturally turn towards the gas cooker. The decision must be hers, but how nice if she could discuss the pros and cons with another woman. Nothing simpler. A home service advisor is close at hand to furnish the feminine viewpoint. And furnish it she does. With her own domestic background, Mrs. Norris can readily explain to the young housewife each and every feature of this particular gas cooker. Woman to woman, they talk the same language. And now, completely satisfied that her choice is the right one, Mrs. Barnes and her husband joyfully go to take possession of their new flat, their first home. Oh dear. Despite her lovely new cooker, Mrs. Barnes' cakes still won't come right. But what did that home service advisor say? Just let me know if I can be of any help.
Good morning, Mr. Brown.
Good morning, Mrs. Norris. Will you please attend to this?
Certainly, Mr. Brown. Home service section. Mrs. Norris speaking.
This is Mrs. Barnes. I'm so sorry to trouble you.
Why, of course it's no trouble, Mrs. Barnes. As I told you, that's what we're here for.
That is sweet of you, Mrs. Norris. Do you know, I do feel a fool. I'm sure it's my fault.
But I still don't seem to have quite got the hang of it.
Don't worry, Mrs. Barnes. Between us, I'm sure we'll sort things out.
Couldn't you come in the morning?
All right, 11 o'clock tomorrow, then. Goodbye.
I'm afraid cakes never were my strong point.
Oh, well, let's see how we've got on this time. There.
Oh, Mrs. Norris, what a beauty. So it was me, after all.
Oh, well, Mrs. Barnes, naturally a new cooker does take some getting used to. But I'm sure you'll get along fine now.
Do you know, I think I shall. You've made it all so simple. I feel much more confident now.
Of course you do. And to think when all this started, more than 50 years ago, there was only one home service advisor. And now there are hundreds of us spread all over the country, especially equipped to help you in any or all of your domestic gas problems. Although we all start with degrees or diplomas in domestic science, that is not nearly enough. Before we can advise, we must learn. So, as trainees, we undergo a long and intensive course of instruction, both in theory and practice. In the care of specialized instructors, we are taken behind the scenes and shown, for instance, what a simple thing like a thermostat dial really does, and why it does it. Every day, millions of these dials are being set. They may vary in design, but the principle remains the same. This may also be said for the wide range of attractive gas cookers now adorning the nation's kitchens. All these modern cookers are extremely efficient and are designed for ease in operation. But no two models are exactly alike in detail. So, as each model enters the market, we must make ourselves familiar with its new features and their functions. Gas washing machines, those great labor savers, are ever popular with the housewife. we have to master the features of every model. Some are electrically agitated, others by simple hand movement. Gas water heaters are a boon at the kitchen sink, and we are taught what lies behind those streamlined exteriors. Some of the latest types embody storage tanks, where the water is maintained at a constant temperature. Personal handling of all kinds of gas appliances soon removes any suggestion of mystery. In this way, in addition to technical knowledge, we acquire practical experience. Knowledge and experience breed confidence, confidence which stands us and you in good stead when we've finished our training and become fully fledged home service advisors. So recently students ourselves, is it surprising that we get quite a lot of satisfaction when we in turn start to give demonstrations in cookery and domestic science? Some of our most appreciative audiences are schoolgirls who, with rapt attention, follow the whole proceedings through the mirror overhead. And when at last their patience is rewarded and we invite the girls to sample the results, well, they really do take it all in. What appetites and what manners. Good thing their mothers can't see them now. From the housewives of tomorrow to the husbands of today. In this servantless age, interest in kitchen lore is no longer confined to our own sex. Many a bachelor tummy has profited from home service advice, while the husband who really does know how to make a Yorkshire pudding is definitely an asset as a man about the house, especially when left to his own devices. After all, as these gentlemen never fail to remind us, the best chefs are always men. You will often meet us at exhibitions in town and country, where we not only demonstrate the advantages of gas in the home, but invite you to be the judge and jury. This gives us the opportunity of meeting the housewife in her leisure moments and having a heart-to-heart talk. If you ever see a crowd round the window of your local gas board showrooms, it's likely that one of us is giving a demonstration of some kind. In this case, a washing machine. Although necessarily conducted in dumb show, these demonstrations are always of interest to the potential customer. Certainly, they never fail to attract quite a lot of attention. Mothers are especially intrigued, and this enterprising youngster has certainly got the right idea. Often we are invited to give demonstrations to all kinds of women's organizations. In this way, you can bring along any queries and discuss them with us in an informal atmosphere. Much of our work, of course, is of a personal nature when we come to see you and talk over your problems. Taking the rough with the smooth, there is plenty of variety and a wealth of interest in the people and places we visit. Places, too, where our advice on the most suitable kind of gas appliance can bring comfort where little or none existed. Remember, our field is nationwide, and we are at your service wherever you may live, and whatever your troubles. Yes, wherever you may live, in country or in town, your problems are ours, and you will always find us only too happy to call and give you the benefit of our help and advice. For instance, Mrs. Trelawney is justly proud of her new combined coke gas fire, but does not quite understand the guard arrangement. Of course, all fires should be fitted with guards, and our advisor shows how the enamel flap is designed to slip between the two bottom wires, thus holding the guard firmly in position. And with young children about, you can't be too careful. No, Mrs. Trelawney, you should always apply match or taper first, before turning on the gas. This is a chilly spot in winter time, and these cottages were not built yesterday. But modern methods have brought much comfort to the little homes. One of our jobs is to follow up the installation of new appliances and assure ourselves that you really are getting the best possible service from them. Just one of the many instances where home service can be of real help. One of our advisors called this morning on a Mrs. Myers, who had recently bought a gas-electric washing machine.
Fancy me thinking you'd come to read the meter. How stupid. And me in the middle of a wash, too.
Oh, that's all right, Mrs. Myers. We always like to call to see if we can give any help, especially with new appliances. And if you don't mind, I couldn't have come at a better time.
Bless you, no, my dear. I'm sure you're welcome. And am I glad to have this? Me and my daughter's baby and all.
I'm sure you are.
We often find ourselves in some of those large, old-fashioned houses, and it's interesting to see the transformation that has taken place with the introduction of modern appliances. I sometimes wonder what our grandmothers would have thought of all this, while a gas refrigerator would have been beyond their wildest dreams. No more sour milk, no stale vegetables, or off-color meat. Instant hot water at the turn of a tap, removing the drudgery from washing up, and this instead of the dirty old range. Should you have any worries or queries, a telephone call or a postcard to your local gas showrooms will always receive our prompt attention. Not always are we met with open arms, but a smile and a compliment can work wonders, and after that, any help we can give is always welcomed. These modern coke-burning stoves look very nice from the outside and are so easy to keep clean. But they must, of course, be kept clean inside as well as out. And here would seem to be the source of the old lady's trouble. Naturally, if a fire is allowed to become choked with burnt ash, it will not work satisfactorily. But an advantage with so many of these modern stoves is that they can be riddled by remote control, without effort and without spreading dust all over the room. You may say, all this is very obvious, and so it may be to you. But when one is not so young, a little help is worth an awful lot of sympathy. And you know, ours is not just a technical approach. Many of us are housewives ourselves, with a meal to prepare when our official day's work is done. That you, Charles?
Afraid so, darling.
Had a busy day. Hungry?
No. Ravenous. Something smells good.
It is good, and almost ready. Just waiting for the soup.
Just waiting for the soup, eh? So patience is yet another virtue of home service. There was she waiting for the soup.
What on earth are you babbling about?
Oh, nothing, my dear. A mere soup song, you might say. Only it would help if you'd lit the gas.
Oh, how stupid.
Allow me, madam. Comes up.
Wonderful, Charles. I always did say you were my star pupil.
But of course.
So now, darling, here's your chance to prove it by carrying on with the dinner. Let me know when it's on the table.
But Rosemary, look, I...
Don't panic, Charles. Remember, in case of need, the home service is always at your service.